Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hormone Helper podcast. I'm Coach Andrew, your hormone helper from Fit for All Fitness. I personally coach over 1,600 men and women to help better understand their hormones so they can lose weight and get their metabolism back on track. With this podcast, you're going to hear from me and my special guests about everything from metabolism to thyroid to weight loss. And we even talk a little bit of sexy time as we chat to spread more knowledge thick like butter on your hormones. If you're ready to learn, I'm ready to share, so let's do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. And today we are going to talk about the biggest thing in your life that causes self-sabotage for your health and your fitness goals, or really just your health in general, and that is your titles. So do you know what I mean by title? I'd like to give you an example. So I think it was about midway last week when I happened to come across a post with a mother who was sharing her journey of momhood, talking about all the sacrifices she made and how because of those sacrifices that makes her the title of best mom. So her post was met with more than 30, I think it was 30-ish comments or something of people saying, same thing, girl, no sleep here, same, no breakfast for me, or same, I'm dead all the time. Now, I didn't really care about what the comments were posted, but really I couldn't believe how many people stood up and said to the world, yep, I'm like that and I'm proud of it. And this is the biggest example. It's the title of mom. So in today's age, people have fallen for this trap, the trap set by companies, employers, social media, and even their families. And this trap is to pick up and commit to a title, to make a title their own and therefore be shackled by it. So there are many titles that we hook onto in our life, and it's not just the title of mom. So we have the title of CEO, we have the title of entrepreneur, a title for top salesperson, and the ones like fittest one in the friends group or healthiest person in the family. You see, when we adopt the title as our own, we play the very dangerous game of taking on all of the traits that title possesses. So as an example, I want to look at the title mom because I hear this one a lot. So most moms are kind, they're compassionate, they're dedicated to their family, and they always put their children first to help them succeed. Not bad as traits, right? I mean, everything that I said was actually really, really good and should probably, hopefully every mother is actually doing these things out there. But there's also the other side of this title. So moms put themselves last. They put their health, their hobbies, and their passions and interests often on the back burner. And they tend to give compassion to others, but they're really hard on themselves and they have no dedication when it comes to boundaries or their family life balance. So that's how mom as a title can be really bad. Now let's look at the title of entrepreneur because I see a lot of them as a coach too. So in the good, they're hardworking, they have laser focused dedication, and they're going to trade time to make it work because their business is their desire. And again, all of those things are really, really good things. But now comes the hard part, the bad part. As an entrepreneur, they're going to be cutting sleep to work more. They're going to be missing meals for another client call and having such laser focus on your business that you're always away from your family and your friends. So you see, people think that by having a title, that they can just justify what they're doing or justify the harm or possible damage to themselves in extreme cases. It's the classic case of having this or this instead of can I have this and this. So as an example, it's either going to be my health or it's going to be my business instead of how can I have my health and my business. So after all, in terms of the clients that I work with, many of them, I actively tell them to ditch the titles because they don't serve them anymore. And of course, in saying this, I don't mean go to your kid and tell them, hey, look, you got to stop calling me mom or dad, right? Because I'm titleless. But what I mean by this is that you have to decide that the title is something that you do. It's not who you are. So that's right. Mom is something you do. Entrepreneur is something you do. CEO is something you do, just like fitness is something you do, or dieting is something you do. So in those moments, you make the conscious choice that being titleless allows you to do. So after all, let's look at those examples here. I'm sure you know of a mom that has really young kids, but can still find time for her workouts. She still eats clean and she still sleeps 7 hours a night. I'm sure you know the business owner in your family who doesn't work 16-hour days like myself or stay up till 2 a.m. to do work. And instead, they take time for lunch and for their exercise and for their family. Now, we can also find people who can be the healthiest person in their family, but not do active dieting, eat like a regular human being. They're able to go out to restaurants and have a few drinks with friends and enjoy their life. All of these things come from abandoning the title. Now, if you ask yourself, how can they do this? It's simple. By abandoning the title, they actively choose to not let the title of others or expectations of others take control of their life. So finally, they get to put themselves in the driver's seat. Now, is that easy? Well, I guess it depends on how long you've been hanging on to the title for. So, I mean, if you're the kind of person who's made it their whole life to be a dedicated parent, you're probably going to find it hard to say, I'm going to put me first. But it's not impossible. We see people through our company all the time that choose to work with us as coaches, and they're like, hey, listen, it's time to put me first. Like, my kid is 16 at this point. If they can't like walk on their own 2 feet, it is what it is. They have the ability to do that. And it's not easy, but it's also not impossible, because I see people do it every day and I help them do it every day. Now, I will say that some people have fallen in love with their titles, that they love their title so much that they're going to bloody well scratch, kick, and claw your eyes out if you try to make suggestions on things like this. But they're the people who most out of everyone most likely need boundaries, they need habits, or they need the changing up in coping mechanisms. And these people, they're in what I call the active drowning state. So I call this the active drowning state because this is basically where people panic when they need to change. So, like, what's the best way to explain this? Say that someone is swimming in the water and all of a sudden they start to panic and they're splashing everywhere. So, in a state like this, they're going to do what they think is going to work. They aren't paying attention to anything else, and they're going to take desperate action just so they can stay afloat, so they can live. Now, if you're someone who's not thinking, you're going to swim up to this person trying to help. And of course, they're going to try to bring you under and they're going to try to hurt you. Now, it's not a personal thing or even intentional on their part, but attacking you or grabbing you is a way to get air and safety for just a few more seconds. And this is why they train lifeguards to throw that, the floating ring and not grab a person when they're actively drowning. Otherwise, two people drown instead of one people, one person. So the titles that we have, the titles that we carry each and every day, they do the very same thing to us as people. And the longer that we tread the water of life with them, the more desperate we become as we start to see the symptoms of us changing in negative ways in our life. And what are these symptoms? Maybe it's your weight that's come up. Maybe your stomach issues have developed into full-blown IBS. Maybe your pre-diabetic condition went into full-blown diabetes, or that a relationship with your family that didn't have any boundaries, maybe it fell apart and you actually valued that relationship a lot. It doesn't matter what it is. You hold that title and it'll eventually catch up with you. So what do we do about this, these holding on to the titles, and how do you move forward with your goals for your health and your fitness in a positive way? Because it needs to be positive for this to be something that we can stick with. So here's how we do this. We focus on those goals through intentions. Intentions have no titles. They just have outcomes. Positive intentions mean you receive a positive outcome, and negative intentions is going to result in the opposite. So the word intention basically means a thing implemented in action or a fact. So you see, intentions are basically just values. And if you live by your values, you're always going to be able to make your goals come true, health, fitness, or whatever they may be. Now, the best part is the values set with good intention, they have no negative outcomes. So what I wanted to do with this podcast is actually give you a few of mine as an example, so you can see how I work without titles and how I use these to help achieve my goals. So I want to start with the one, and this is a big one for me. My value is integrity. I value integrity a lot. So integrity to me mean that my actions are always in line with my beliefs. Now, my intention with my integrity is to always show up in my truest self. This means as a coach that if I tell someone to go to bed early, I must also have a good bedtime. And if I'm going to tell someone to exercise frequently, that I also have to be doing my exercise regularly and actually love it for myself. Now, this also means for me, this means that I have to keep promises that I make to me, which means that I have to have healthy boundaries around my life and my personal space. And it means being aware of how I use my time so that way when I'm working on something or sitting with someone, that I am there and I'm 100% all in on them or that thing, that I'm putting my effort in that moment. That value to me, the value that really I find is a core for myself, is really really big, because if I don't have integrity, then that means that everything that I say as a coach, I am the opposite, or I'm not living to that. Now, it's different than me saying, hey, I'm always going to be on time, or I'm always going to say this. That's different. What integrity is for me is showing up as the truest version of myself in every single moment and in every single aspect of my life. Now, I'm going to give you one more value for me, and that is respect. So, for me, the value of respect, this is basically to show a sense of admiration or like a positive feeling for anything that comes good in my life. This is good people, good qualities. Whatever I receive good from someone, I'm going to show a sense of admiration and do that back. So here's how I use respect intentionally. For other people, I respect boundaries that they've set. I respect people's time because I know that my time is valuable. I respect people's prices because I know that they are knowledgeable, and I respect that things take time. So if they set a price to something, I'm not going to try to say, hey, can you do it for half the cost? Because I would never ask someone, or I would never tell someone to do that to me as a business owner or as a coach. And I don't do that because I have respect for myself. So I say to that, so when someone gives me a price, I am trusting, and out of respect, I know that they are giving me the best so they can show up the best. Now, when it comes to the respect of time, I respect that things take time. So I don't take shortcuts because I want to learn. Because every single time I've taken shortcuts in my life, I've either disrespected the process or I've disrespected the level of effort that's needed, and I don't see the result for the thing that I wanted. Now, for myself, it's self respect. I respect my body by being aware of what I put in it, which means eating good food every day. I respect myself by taking time to unwind each day, by spending time on things that I enjoy, like painting my miniatures and stuff. I also respect myself by speaking positively to me because I know that my headspace is everything. So when I start the day, I'm not like, oh, Andrew, you suck. You're terrible. You look bad in this outfit. Wow, you're super bloated. Oh man, this sucks. Because I know that ultimately, if my value is respect and my intention is to use respect to hit my goals, then I have to respect me, not just the people around me. So those two are very, very important with me. And I think you can hear how passionate I get when I talk about my values because they are important. So you see how intentions with values are different from titles. Titles are things that you carry, and values are things that you apply into your life. Also, do you see how I use them to help me with my health and my fitness? So I simply choose a value that speaks to me, and then I look at how that value can be done intentionally, which sets action steps behind it. The key to this being effective, though, comes with this final piece, and that is accountability. Most people don't hold a high accountability level when it comes to what they want along with their values. And I'll tell you something, you cannot call it a value if you don't prioritize it. So a great example of this is the value of kindness. So many people are just the value of kindness. They say to themselves, "Hey, I'm a kind person," and they're kind to people, and they're going to intentionally treat others with kindness. But then when it comes to themselves, they don't treat themselves kindly. They body shame themselves in the mirror. They talk about how they're always failing diets, and it becomes too critical. They become too critical when it comes to doing something wrong. So a value has to be something that you completely embody, which means that you have to be extra careful for what you choose and why you are choosing it. And ultimately, just like every health and fitness goal, this comes back to the why. What is your why for this big goal that you set? Why are you looking to accomplish this? Why is this so important to you? Why has this taken so long? Why are there obstacles in your way? You have to continuously ask why for you to get a really iron set value within your life. Now, when I speak to my clients for their whys, they are absolutely crystal clear. I've had people share stuff like, I want to walk my daughter down the aisle without gasping for air. That's as clear as a why as you ever going to get. Or my favorite, like, I want to be an example to my 3 kids that they can be healthy without being on a diet like mom. That's huge because at the end of the day, your why is going to be what keeps intentions consistent. Strong whys give birth to strong values, values which you can set intentions and then take action on those intentions. The why keeps you accountable, just like a coach. But most importantly, it keeps your values real. This is how you change your headspace to hit your health and your fitness goals sustainably. You have to be able to put a value and drop the title. And I used to be someone as a human being that was completely committed to titles. I was all in with the title of entrepreneur. I gave everything. I gave friendships up. I gave my health up. But then when I was running a facility and I was trying to exercise at 1 o'clock in the morning, knowing that I had a client at 4, I sat down with myself and said, what the hell am I doing? I'm out of integrity with myself. I've lost my self respect because I'm not letting myself rest. I've lost my integrity because I'm telling people to go to bed at 9 and I'm going to bed at 1. And I knew that this wasn't sustainable for me. And that's often how people fall into these traps where they never succeed in their health and fitness goals. They're stuck with a title and they're like, with the title of mom, my kids are everything. So if my kids start talking to me at 6 o'clock, I've got to throw my workout away. Well, what about you? Now, I'll encourage you to think of it this way. And here's the ironic part. If you want to show up as the best mom, if you want to show up as the best partner, as the best CEO, don't you think you need to be the best version of you? And this is why titles don't work. Because for me, the best person, the best coach that I've ever been for my clients was when I was sleeping 8 hours every single night, when my food was in track, when I had time to meditate in the morning, when I was on track with my habits and my routine, and I showed up telling them that this is realistic, that you can do it because I'm doing it too. So this is how you need to change your headspace to hit your health and your fitness goals sustainably. I'll say one more thing from a value perspective before I ask you a question. From a value perspective, your values can change. When a value changes, it's because you're changing it for another value. When a title changes, it's because you've lost the title. Whenever your title changes, you're always going to feel negative. So, for example, you have the title of mom, you're so happy, your kids leave for school. Now you're like, I'm not a mom anymore. The loss of a title makes you feel negative. The loss of a value doesn't, because it means that your values are changing. So, for example, someone can say, you know what? I value family time and I am all in on family time. So they're spending every single time with their family member. And then they say, you know what? I've recognized I actually don't value family time. I value quality time, in which case they start spending less time with their family. But when they're spending time with their family, they're 1,000% in, 1,000% dedicated, and they get more from those conversations and relationships than they did spending all of that time with family. Your values change. And when your values change, that's okay because they change for the better. When your titles change, it's going to leave a negative space with you, just like when you didn't succeed a health and fitness goal leaves a negative space as well. So that's a huge aspect of it. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Okay. And it was a question that I had to ask myself 2 years ago for me to show up as the best coach. So I want you to ask yourself this, because this is going to make you the best version of you. When was the last time you sat down and asked yourself what your values are? When have you ever asked yourself, what do I value and what are my values? Ask yourself that, because after all, when we set our health and our fitness goals, or when we set a goal to have this type of career or to have a family with multiple kids, there has to be some reason as to why we want them. No, I mean, what is your reason? Are you just setting goals because? Are you just trying to hit things because it would be nice? Because the funny thing about goals is if you don't want it, you won't achieve it. And if you want it, you'll always achieve what you want. Find that answer, then go set your intentions on making those answers happen. You got this, team. And thank you so much for listening today to this podcast episode. I hope you join us on the next episode. Well, it seems I'm all out of info juice for today. That's all for this episode. And thank you so much for listening. Please leave a raving review for me if you've learned something good, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. Now, if you're in the mood for some more great content and tools to get your hormones on track, why not check out our free Facebook group and the blog on our site? We do amazing weekly trainings in our group that me and my wife call Tea and Teachings that give good tips for anything hormones and metabolism related. It's also a great community where you get to share your goals and success with like-minded people just like you. I'll make sure to drop both the Facebook group link and the blog link in the show notes for you. Or if you're ambitious like me, the name of the group is Weight Loss and Balanced Hormones. It'll say Fit for All beside it with a picture of me. So come and join us and have more fun.